the idea to me is go with what you're comfortable. If it gets the job done for you to get whatever you're working on to be done sooner, then use it.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to episode 86 of the Sandbox.Space weekly podcast. I, of course, am your host, Chris, joined as every week, Baby Girl, who's in my lap, Pumpkin, who's over there doing something, and, of course, every week we have a special guest. This week's guest is Tony Justo, a longtime friend and supporter of GDEX. You've given many a talk. You've showcased. You've supported the community. So, Tony, welcome. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Glad for being here. Thank you.
Awesome. So for the folks in the stream as they filter in, do you just want to give a little background on you and what you do? Who is Tony?
Oh man, jeez. That always leaves me hanging, honestly. So I do a good bit of things. But yeah, well, one of the things I guess I'm a game enthusiast. I love everything game related. I love creating games, so game development and everything that involves it. And in general, anything that is uh, what would you call outdoorsy. So anything like that. And of course, public speaking. So I love going to places and doing a few talks, as you just mentioned. And my talks vary. I've done some in game tool, so how to create tools in the Unity environment, and networking, so how to get started learning or understanding the intricacies of multiplayer, if you will. So
Hmm.
yeah, from here to there, I guess, all over.
All over the world. Well,
Oh,
yeah, thanks for coming, man. I'm with you. I think I'm one of those guys too that I've just always really loved video games since I was a kid. I don't know about you, but like I never thought about getting into the games industry as a career. I
yeah.
just kind of fell into it 15 years ago, and I don't know. I really love it. I love games. I was playing. Was this 2 nights ago? I was playing The Outer Worlds 2, which just came out, and I was just kind of
Yeah.
poking around at things. In the back of my mind, I was like, man, I really fucking love video games. Like they're so cool when like you sink in and you're poking around and discovering stuff. And like as a developer, I also kind of like to see how they do things. Like I like to see how they put levels together and how they make design decisions and stuff. And I really love the medium as an experience creator. Um, so
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. I think there's like just overall the amount of work that takes to obviously create a game, even from the smallest thing, right? Like, I those were talks I used to have before with individuals that they're like, oh, well, I want to create this and that, and I'm like, man, just start with like I don't know, Super Mario. Heck, let's just do Pong for now, right? But just
mhm.
the idea of what it takes to create certain games like that, and to your point, the Outer Worlds, I haven't tried the second one yet. I played the first one. It was fantastic. The story is great on it as well. Those are the things that just drives me forward on games, will be the stories. And honestly, I got to really get to enjoy more, if you will, a game, even if the story is not as complex, due to its fighting mechanics. So
Mm.
that has just been one of those things that had just hooked me. But excuse me, for sure, the Outer Worlds too just seems like they pushed that, from the first one. So
Yeah, yeah. I did you play the first one?
mhm.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I really like the first one, but the my takeaway when people are like because I'm sort of the video game guy in our friend group, and so sometimes friends will ask for my opinion on, a game that they should play. And when people ask me about Outer Worlds 2, I sort of give the same response, which is I really liked it. I think it's a great game. But it really is a foundation for what could be, something better in the future. And now that part two came out, I do feel like that's true. Outer Worlds 2 really focuses on like decisions and like dialogue, which I think is really
Hmm.
cool. I've had numerous quests where like I'm going through it and I'm making decisions, and then like I kind of get to the end and it just sideswipes me with some decision, and I was like, oh man, what do I do here? What do I do?
Hmm.
And that's pretty rare. Yeah, I like Fallout 4 a lot as a game. I think there's a lot of cool stuff in there, but most of the decision stuff is not really relevant. I mean, most of the answers are more or
Yeah.
less the same. Um,
Yeah, it leads you to the same place, I believe, right?
yeah, and that's one of the things I had this conversation with many guests. Be curious your thought is when I was growing up. So I was born in 1981. When I was growing up in kind of the early days of computers and video games, we just kept seeing like jump after jump of like what computers could do, what games could be. Obviously graphics, but a lot of it was like gameplay, and then features, mechanics, simulations, like all sorts of
Mm.
things. And then over time, I'd say maybe in the early 2010s, it felt like we just kept going graphics, graphics, graphics. And like we haven't
Mm.
seen a lot of like really, at least at the medium to AAA space. Indie stuff is obviously a different story, but in the
Mm.
AAA space, like we're not seeing those really cool simulations or like really like something that's pushing game development in like a new interesting direction rather than just like ray tracing and path tracing and all whatever else
Yeah.
makes the game look shiny. Um,
Hmm.
and so I'm just glad to see a game that's trying to do that, trying to make decisions matter in a really like a really concrete way. So just
Mm.
curious, sort of your thoughts on that.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, Definitely, I cannot disagree with the constant push on graphics, right? On like, oh, it's the refresh rate and how many, frames per second, etc. And I'm like, man, I was comfortable with like, just playing Super Nintendo games or like I'm comfortable with those pixel deals. And and just the I believe the drive on the idea of graphics, right, is just that I'm gonna call it that instinctual thought of trying to push something realistic, right? Like humanoid, humanistic, etc. However you want to call it, in order for it to be like, wow, we're playing like we are like people and controlling them in a,
Mm-hmm.
in this environment, that they look so realistic, right? But it gets to a point I'm like, do you want it to get that realistic? That's just my personal thought. It's like it's just the point of a fantasy, right? Is that you can do unhuman things, right? Like you could do this
Yeah,
incredible feats that normally we as people cannot in a sense do, not really everyone, I guess, right? So that drive, I think, again, is a lot that has to deal with like that desire to want to make things as humanistic or real as possible, and the idea for uh, kind of like an eye candy, if you will, right? So we, quote
yeah,
unquote, I use that broadly, we as people, like we eat with our eyes. So whenever you go to like eat something or like you see some pastries or dessert, you're like, oh man, I can eat that whole thing. You'll regret it maybe, but it'll be fantastic for the moment. So whenever those shiny new approaches are brought into people's, quote unquote view, right? It just makes it more enticing for them to be like, oh, it's flashy, looks realistic, and so forth. But the challenge there is that uh, they then move that effort so much towards graphic that they forget some of the other aspects of what makes a game good. Yeah,
yeah, and a lot of this is marketing too, right? Like
of
it's
course.
a lot
Mhm.
easier to sell a game that looks amazing as opposed to a game that
Yeah.
looks. And I'm not the biggest graphics guy, Obviously, I like a good looking game, but I'm more about like the style it's presented in. If you can have like a
Yeah.
cohesive aesthetic, like it doesn't need to be photorealistic or whatever. But even with Outer Worlds 2, like there's a couple like just visual decisions that I'm just like, oh my God, like this would look so much better if you. So, like an example, there's it all takes place on planets, right? And I think they've got this like fog or haze effect that they're using the like cloud far away assets, which is totally normal. Like, okay, it's pretty common to create like kind of a fog. But the issue is one, you're in space. So like if you're gonna be in space, you can do some really awesome stuff with like planets and things and stars. And this fog is just kind of it just feels like there's light pollution all over the place, which is weird
Mm,
because you're on a planet. But the thing is, you can
exactly.
tell it's a part of their rendering engine because even when you're inside, it still does it. And
Oh, interesting.
there's this one area where you go inside like this mine, and there's all these like crystals, and the crystals like glow different colors. And I was like, this would be fucking rad if the cave walls were like pitch black except for the color emanating off the crystals. But
Yeah.
instead, there's this like haze effect, which just sort of like
It's
dulls everything. It gets rid of the like. There's no blacks because everything's kind of a little bit muted
interesting.
in the
Yeah.
distance. So I'm not the biggest graphics guy, but like I don't know,
Mm,
little stuff like that I think can go a long way. And then also,
mm,
this is just my old man ranting for a second, that things like HDR and stuff are becoming so complex that like sometimes I find I'm spending 30 minutes just setting up like on PlayStation, I'm setting up the visual settings before I even
yeah.
play the game. Because like I love Cyberpunk.
Hmm.
I don't know if you played Cyberpunk. I love that game. But
Hmm.
the HDR settings on PlayStation are terrible. They're atrocious. Um, but yeah, I talked to some folks. I was at the Shiny Games conference this last
Mm,
weekend, and I was kind of talking to people. I liked it when we were talking about like remember when like Sim City and Sim Earth and stuff were a big deal. It's just like the idea was like, oh, how
mm,
can we create these really interesting simulations where everything's interacting with each other? And there's still games that do that,
mm,
like Dwarf Fortress is a big one lately. But I just sort of wish there was some more thought on that kind of stuff in the game space.
mm.
I want to see some new weird experiences, and maybe I just need to revisit some indie stuff. I Do you play many indie games?
Um, as of late, honestly, I haven't, I don't think I've touched many. I've been on how you say, I ended up getting a Switch 2, and
Mm,
everything I couldn't play, I literally started playing.
okay.
So, and I say I couldn't play more so because I was, the first Switch just didn't appeal to me to that
Sure.
extent. So the new one just has more resources, if you will, more capability in order for it to function, and run things better.
Hmm.
So I have not really touched many indies at the moment. I just been one. I went through both of the Metro games, and those are phenomenal. So if you like first person shooters, those two have
Yeah, I haven't
amazing
played them,
storyline.
but people talk about them very highly.
Hmm. But yeah, though to your point too on the concept of getting things set up like Cyberpunk with the high definition render like that, that does take time if you want it to look good, and unfortunately, like you have different monitors or we all have different monitors, so
Yeah.
you got to tailor things to adjust to your settings, if you will. But the enjoyment of again considering indie too is that a lot of the visual is there, is up front, and often it's just unique. It's just
Hmm.
beautiful the way the aesthetics are put together to compensate for quote unquote not having that super high graphics.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I think it all comes down to art direction. I always use Pixar as an example. I think,
Mm,
people would argue that Pixar has some of the best looking animated movies ever created, but they don't tend to be photorealistic. They're not trying to go for, the best graphics. They're creating a really tight art direction around their aesthetic, and I think that's super important. Nintendo does that too, right? Like Nintendo's art direction is probably second to none, and they create a lot of like really good stuff. But games like Bioshock, I love Bioshock. That's not the best looking game, like realistically, but I think its art direction is always stunning. You watch someone new play Bioshock, and they're just like kind of wowed by it. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I think for
No,
me, just
one.
go
Oh,
ahead. No, go ahead.
go ahead. So one game that like stood out to me in that way, and that unfortunately at the moment I'm just thinking of first person, and now that just kind of stuck there. But a High on Life, man,
Mm-hmm.
like the first of all, the concept of the game of what they decided to use, ridiculous as hell, but it works. Like, and then of course the dialogue with a weapon, if you will, because it talks and it's this alien creature or whatever. It's is unique in my perspective. It is different, and the colors, man, like it's got a beautiful, like, vibrant color to it, that stands out from your normal shooters, if you will,
Mm-hmm.
or your first person shooters that often tend to be a bit duller, and like to me that game is ridiculous in a good way, if you will. So yeah, to talk about like that unique aesthetic, that definitely stands out to me.
Yeah, yeah, totally. You mentioned the Switch 2. We talked about it last week, but the Switch 2 is selling exceptionally well,
Mm.
despite some of the controversy. But looks like Nintendo's back. I don't know if they ever left, but after the Switch and the Switch 2, they're doing exceptionally well, which I think is really cool. I want to bring up, ciao, pumpkin. I want to bring up a quick article because I'm curious about your take on it. So let me, as I fight my cat here. Hi, sweetie. What are you
So
doing? She likes attention. Okay, so this is just a little thing I want to share because I just thought this was interesting to talk about. Red Dead Redemption 2 is now the fourth best-selling game ever. Uh, According to publisher Take-Two's latest financial report, Rockstar's open world Western is now sitting pretty at a ridiculous 79 million units or copies sold, taking above Mario Kart 8, Mario Kart Deluxe. This was from Push Square, Robert Ramsey. The reason
mm.
I'm bringing this up, I don't know. Have you played? Did you play Red Dead 2?
uh no. Honestly, no. My spouse Trinity started playing, and then stopped
Mm-hmm.
playing it.
It's a lot. It's a big game.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Like, I love Grand Theft Auto. I love the concept. Like, even five. Was it even five? I played it for a bit, and I just personally I lost the interest. Like,
Mm.
I don't know what it was. Whether maybe too much to do on it, or just the. Yeah, perhaps is there too much to do on it, because I've been feeling the same thing about some of the practically Ubisoft games, right?
Oh
Like
yeah,
the
yeah.
Assassin's Creeds and all that. It's just like so many things, so much in it, and it it, it is a lot that feels empty.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how to explain that, but
I definitely feel you on the Ubisoft stuff. The Ubi's open world design, I'm just not into. It's just like the check boxes
Mhm.
of like a whole bunch of lame missions, and you go from one tower to the next tower.
Right,
I'm
right.
not into that. Yeah, I stopped. I enjoyed GTA 5, but I stopped playing. I got stuck. I couldn't figure out like how to get past a quest somewhere, and then I just got
Mm.
busy and didn't get into it. But the
Right.
reason I'm bringing Red Dead up, one is I love that game. I think Red Dead 2 is an excellent game, but like it's not
Hmm.
getting any love. Like Rockstar never like
Hmm.
we're not getting any add-ons, any DLC. There's no 60 FPS update for. It's like they just, you know,
Left
it
us.
didn't. Yeah, it didn't hit like their internal expectations or something, and so they just left it alone. But it's the fourth selling best game
Wow.
ever.
But it's
So
yeah.
you would think that they would give it some more love. Plus the fact that it's just a great game, all in
Mm.
all. So I don't know. I just think it's kind of
There
absurd.
is a lot. Excuse me. There is a like again, like now I haven't played it personally. Like I mentioned, my spouse, Trinity ended up playing it, and like she loved the concept, and the interaction, and of course the movie aesthetic,
Hmm.
like that cowboyish, and you're riding the horse, and like it looks great. It looks and feels great, let me say that, right? And the mechanics for the movement and you shooting and him interacting with the people in the town, even as you walking by or bumping into them, like that's very impressive.
Yeah.
Even a piece that I saw that you when you fish, like you could find this enormous fish and like show it off to the camp, You're
Hmm.
walking around with this giant fish and the way that they react, is just again, it is outstanding just because like you wouldn't think I'm like, hey, I got this fish, check it out. And
Yeah.
people actually respond to it.
All those little
Um,
actions go a long way.
correct.
I was
Mhm.
talking again back to Outer Worlds 2. When you first start the game, you're on your like little
Mhm.
spaceship, and you have to go to like the center area and turn on this console or whatever. And there's so you go out, you're on the bridge, you go out the bridge, you can go down the stairs. But if you just like hop off the railing, then one of the characters will comment about it. They'll say something like, well, I guess that's one way to get down here, you know? And the game's just full of those little things where when you do a little interaction, somebody notices it and responds to it, which just makes the world feel more lively. But it also shows that the devs are paying attention. You know, they're thinking about how you would interact in the game. And I think that's something that Rockstar is particularly good at. When I talk about like simulations and stuff, I think Rockstar is doing amazing work in sort of the simulation
Mhm.
space. I'm very curious what GTA 6 is going to be like. Particularly, we just delayed it a second time. I don't know if you saw last week, it's got
Yeah.
delayed again. So,
Oh
um,
yeah. Man, stocks dropped on that one, but
I mean, yeah, I don't, for me, you look at like Rockstar's making money hand over fist with, well, I guess Red Dead 2, but also GTA
oh yeah.
Online is making tons of money. Like Rockstar's
Mhm.
not hurting for money. And so I
Oh, at
think
all. Yeah.
there's a really great, I always recommend that it's Zenkai, I think it's Zenkai, I want to say, is it's a YouTuber and he goes
Mm.
he the way he does series is he's like I played every blank game and I played every Rockstar game, and then he does this like retrospective about the games and how they've built. And one of
Mm.
the really interesting things that he mentioned about Rockstar is that every game they release is like a mechanics game design test for GTA. So GTA is their main game,
Yeah.
but then
Mhm.
when they do another like side game like a Red Dead or Bully or something, that
Mhm.
is usually a couple features in that game that they're testing out to see how they can use in GTA. Oh, here's babe.
Yeah. Yes, baby.
Um, and like I found that really like a really interesting way to sort of like build your business of if you can keep building this like
Hmm.
tech stack that can be for your main baby, but
Oh
then
yeah.
you get to create new sort of experiences around that. That's pretty cool. But that also means that the expectations for GTA 6 are very very high. Do you think they'll
Really
meet them?
high. Oh
Do
yeah.
you think they'll meet the
Oh yeah,
expectations?
for sure.
Okay.
Man, like one of the things that I actually enjoyed on five, honestly, it was the dog. Like
Okay.
the Roddy, like you get this like
Hmm.
beautiful Roddy, I think, and
Yeah, I
you
forget
could
what he's
pick up the
called.
ball and you throw it, and the dude just goes grabs it and comes back. Like you could tell him jump in the car, which is fantastic. And I'm I love dogs, so that's one of the things. I'm like, yeah, get in there, buddy. It was just you and me.
Yeah.
Like I don't need anyone else. Um, so that it's a simple thing for me, but very enjoyable. And when I saw that apparently they're also having like I guess dogs in this one, it was just a bit of a nice feeling. It was just like, oh snap, I get to have a
Yeah.
potentially another companion. Um,
I
and
I can't believe the graphics. I know we talked about how graphics aren't everything, but both
mhm.
trailers that GTA has released
Oh,
just look stunning. Stunning. I don't know
the
how
the
well it will run,
muscle,
but
yeah, the apparently the way that the muscles like whenever the character flexes or relaxes, it is hella impressive.
yeah.
Of course not like actually now that I think about it, um the concept as you mentioned using that the other streamer had noted using certain games to test certain features out. If you think about I think it was actually I believe it's Red Dead 2 that the horse mechanics, right? And if you look at whenever the horse gallops, you can see its muscle structure,
Mm,
right? And like if you pay attention, like in the from the side or etc., you move the camera,
yeah.
and he moves, like you see the muscle function on the horse, and that is freaking impressive.
Yeah.
And again, thinking about, a quote unquote something that they're trying somewhere else to bring it over, now you have similar feature or that action of the muscle structure working in a certain way on the characters,
Hmm.
right? And you didn't have it, at least not that I could tell then. Now you have it on the characters that like you can tell when I believe it's one of the main characters is pretty fit. So whenever he like relaxes his arm, his muscle is not like as tense. But whenever he like reaches up, then you can see like his
Yeah.
actual bicep, and it's like, holy crap. But thinking about it, that may have been brought from the idea of the horse, right? Of
Yeah.
showing
Probably.
all how that structure works and applying it there. So I can definitely see that. I mean, that's brilliant, I think, just because
Yeah.
then at least you will see whether people like it or not, or they actually pay attention, but like, oh man, like,
Yeah.
there's this,
It gives them a chance to test stuff out, both sort of technologically, but also
Mm,
just if players like it or respond to it,
yeah.
which is really smart because they want every GTA they make to be, the best thing ever. Um,
Oh yeah.
but yeah, it's dude. I was watching another retrospective on Tomb Raider last week, and it's like,
Mm.
wow, how far we've come in games. From I remember Tomb Raider. I played a lot of Tomb Raider and Tomb Raider 2, and I remember it just like looking amazing. But man, it don't look like Red Dead 2. I'll tell you that.
Oh no, for sure. That's definitely. I mean, don't get me wrong. The technology advance is there for sure in comparison to to like the old school Tomb Raider. Um, like the that has improved a lot, but I think more so the difference in that aspect or that concept, I guess, would be that in the sense of Tomb Raider, like the visual appeal is focused often on cinematics, right?
Hmm.
So that's whenever like they crank up, I'm gonna call it crank up, like the fidelity in the more graphical actions, right? So they're like, oh, I'm focusing, on Lara Croft, and she's in this cave or something, but since the camera's so focused there that they can enhance, the fidelity of the graphics in that short clip. right?
Sure.
Versus GTA, it seems to be wherever you go, right? Like like the that fidelity and that
Yeah.
feature is not focused on just a scene, is literally the whole game. And
Yeah.
like that's hella impressive, that again, definitely improvements, but whenever you could do that on a large scale and keep a lot of those, technical
Totally.
improvements, if you will,
Totally.
it's impressive. Yeah.
I think like if I had to put my thumb on a studio right now, I think Naughty Dog is one of the best at that, where they will go from like cutscene to gameplay seamlessly,
Oh,
and like
hmm
you can't even tell. Whereas yeah, like back in the day, the pre-rendered cutscenes would be very obviously better looking, and then it would switch to
hmm
gameplay. But Naughty Dog has a way of just having these seamless like transitions where everything just looks amazing. Um, and again, as like
It's entirely serious.
yeah, as a
Uncharted just
gamer that's also a dev, I love poking around and like just looking at different design
mm,
level designs and character designs and seeing how things look. And
hmm
um so I
mm,
just in the interest of time, I've got one interesting article I wanted to run by you because I know
yeah.
you're a Unity guy. Um,
hmm
so this is from GamesIndustry.biz. This is Vicky Blake. Unity reports modest gains in revenue from Q3 2025 as Unity 6 approaches 10 million downloads. Unity's published its financial results for the third quarter of its fiscal year, seeing modest but better than expected gains across most segments, including its Create Solutions and Grow Solutions. Overall revenue was up 5% year on year to 471 million. So,
hmm
we've been in the game for a while here. Unity was like the top dog for a bit, and then kind of fell on their face. And then was it last year or the year before they made that really bad um, Unity licensing decision that they
hmm
had to rescind? It seems like maybe they're finding their way again. Just for transparency, Unity has always been a good sponsor of GDEX. They've supported us most every year that GDEX has existed. Though I have had to have some honest conversations with our Unity rep where it's just like, hey, you guys used to be really involved in the community, used to be really out there, and then they just kind of disappeared for a while. It seems like they're getting back
hmm
into being involved into the community, but just in the interest of transparency. But I'm curious, is Unity back? Do you think that they've learned some hard lessons?
Um, I think I think that was unfortunately not obviously that decision was not ideal for them. And they definitely felt the fire, if you will, from the users or the developers and so forth. So yes, I think it was a great choice to go back on that. I think like I use Unity, and even when that came up, I was not gonna change my mind and go to anything else, honestly.
Really,
I was
you
not
didn't even
gonna
think
go
about it?
to no, I was like, no, you know what? That's my personal opinion concept, and I'm like, if I were to hit their threshold of 200 and something thousand, I'll be like, heck, that's a good day for me, you know, and keep moving to whatever else. But I didn't plan of moving to anything, and I think anyway overall, the improvements that they've made, right, that they have focused into the engine to add additional features, and as we would have been talking, roughly more fidelity and so forth, for the sense of like their graphic approach, right? So like they consolidated specific things, so like that you don't have so much differentiality between like the standard um, render pipeline and the URP and so forth. Now it's kind of like they're consolidating that to make it easier, and adding a lot of features that I think improve the engine overall and its functionality. I have been tracking them obviously for a very long time. I plainly, like I have stocks on them, so like I know when things are moving up or down. So those are
Okay.
things that I'm like, whoa, what's happening here?
I don't think I have
And
Unity stock anymore. I did buy some Unity stock, but I think I got rid of it.
oh yeah, no, I've definitely, even through that turmoil, I held out to it, and actually, it was a good day through this time around, if you will, because we could have taken advantage of that dip, if you will. But I'm not here to talk about that. I don't deal with that kind of thing, or advice, if you will, and
Yeah, we're
anything
not giving
financial.
financial advice here. We're just
Yeah,
talking about
that's right.
our personal experiences.
But. As a whole, anyway, I think they're moving in a good direction. I feel the engine itself is still fantastic and is able to do many, like if you have the skills, you could do so much with it, right? I know there's plenty others that are moving up, Godot and so forth, which is fantastic as well. And I feel the more options people have, the merrier, the merrier, if you will. Just because sometimes you might feel more comfortable with one thing or another. But anyway, overall, to your question, I don't, I think they have picked themselves up and they still need to keep walking, if you will, a bit more,
Hmm.
before people start, again, putting their I don't want to say faith, if you will, but for the lack of word, um, to rely, I guess, on them again to that extent. It would take them a little bit more, but the idea to me is go with what you're comfortable. If it gets the job done for you to get whatever you're working on to be done sooner, then use it, get it done, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I think the story of Unity is very interesting. I worked with Unity a lot for GDEX. They helped support our Central Ohio Cog group. And I'm talking about like the Unity 2.0, 3.0 days, like old school Unity.
Mhm.
Um, and they were a pleasure to work with. We even did I tell the story. They had a Unity, they called it like a Unity Roadshow, and I forget what it was for. I think maybe the implementation of Unity 4. It doesn't matter. But they were having some big thing, and they were having this Unity Roadshow, and I hit them up. And I was like, hey, I think we should do something in Columbus. And they were like, oh, sorry, we've already gotten our dates for everything. And I was like, well, is there any way we can do something, even if it's just like a little thing? And they're like, I'll tell you what, we'll
Mhm.
we'll, we'll do a pre-registration, and if it fills up to like a certain number, we'll do it. And we ended up having we tied for the fastest sellout in the world here in Columbus. I think the other one was like
Wow.
in Brazil, the fastest sellout of
Hmm.
any location. And we I think we sold out in under 24 hours. And so Unity was like, oh wow, okay, there's a lot of interest here. Let's do something.
Hmm.
And so we ended up doing it, which was really cool to have one of those road shows. Um,
Hmm.
but then they just sort of fell away, and it became really difficult to get a hold of them. Really difficult to get them to sponsor. The Unity itself as a program was kind of having a really tough battle against Unreal.
Yeah.
And it seemed like a lot of people were like, "Oh, is Unity done?" But it seems like they've come back. They've learned their lessons. It feels very much like how PlayStation was going into the
Hmm.
PS3, where they were just coming off the PS2, best-selling game console ever. PlayStation was super arrogant. They thought that they could control
Yeah.
the world, and Xbox 360 like showed them what's what, and PlayStation really had
Hmm.
to adjust. It feels like Unity, Unreal came in and threw Unity to the mat, and they had to start making some changes. And now, interestingly enough, there's a lot of Unity 5 products that are being made, but there is a consistent performance issue that we're seeing out of Unity 5 games where they don't run super well. There's some visual hitching and frame rate drops. Um, yeah, so I don't know if maybe sometimes just staying in the game long enough for your opponent to make a mistake gives you a chance to capitalize on it. And it seems like Unity is back. They came
Right.
in, they were a big sponsor last year for GDEX. So
Hmm.
yeah, I don't.
Yeah, for sure. I think, sorry, go ahead.
No, 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 no. Just that was just my thoughts. Go
Yeah,
for it.
no, I think, again, definitely a learning lesson on that part of things. And I could see that a lot of the challenge after going through, either whatever they went through and so forth, they kind of had to take a step back in order to be like, hey, let's rethink our approach, So making it so for them to be put back on the spotlight, might have been a thing for them to be like, let's not do that yet, right? So I can understand in a business aspect for a company to be like, let me not in a sense put my feet out there yet. Let's get everything figured out internally,
Hmm.
before we make that jump again. So like that, if we make the jump, we have a parachute, to work with. And I
Oh,
think
just to
again,
jump in real fast, someone in the chat, I think I might have misspoke. I was talking about Unreal 5 having performance issues and challenges, not Unity 5.
gotcha.
So if I said Unity, I apologize. It's Unreal 5 is having issues.
Oh yeah, yeah. And actually on but yes, in the Unity aspect, that was the concept, I think, still taking a step back from everything that happened to be able to then venture forward. It makes sense. Get your stuff figured out first, and then you can, take a confident step forward. In the Unreal side of things, like I've interacted, and of course I keep track of all those things as well. Like the often the thing that I see or have experienced is that people rely so much in the engine for what it automatically does for you
Hmm.
that often they forget to optimize themselves in order to make things
Yeah.
function better. And that is, in my experience, a lot of the case when it comes to Unreal that I have noticed and I have seen again blogs and videos and so forth is like that reliance that, hey, yeah, the engine handles this for you. You don't have to worry. Um, it's sometimes it can bite you back, if you will, if you don't pay attention to specific things. Like you're like, oh, it can handle billions of polygons, like the nanite deal, but you're still forgetting that is a lot of polygons, maybe that you're cramming in somebody's system that doesn't have the ability to do that,
Yeah.
right?
And there's
So.
also been supposedly again, I'm not like a tech engineer, right? But I just I play one on TV. But uh, there's a lot of like AI and anti-aliasing and upresing tools, upscaling. And
Mhm.
so, like for example, the PlayStation has the PSS or PSVR, or sorry, no, PSSR. There we go, which is their AI, yeah, their post processing like upscaling tech, and apparently
Mhm.
that doesn't it hasn't been working super well with Unreal's nanite system, and it's creating some like weird
Mhm.
visual effects and sometimes flickering. And so, yeah, there's
Okay.
like layer on layer of tech that you kind of have to focus on. And even something you mentioned a little bit ago, like particularly I'd say on the indie to medium size dev side, you can get away with a lot simply because computers are so powerful nowadays. Like you can get away, you don't have
Mhm.
to optimize as tightly as you used to back in the day for
Mhm.
performance because computers are so powerful. They can kind of the
Right.
speed and processing power can kind of get you out of a lot of trouble.
Right, right, right. No, for sure. But the if you will, the challenge when it comes to the Unreal side of things is at least like from my experience anyway, and this been a few years back, people are like, whoa, just use Unreal. Unreal's easy. I'm like, but why? When I could do everything I need to do here. They're like, yeah, but it looks better and you get better graphics. And I'm like, yeah, that's when you get bitten because you're trying to push for that AAA like approach or look, but you don't know how to optimize it.
Hmm.
and like I'm sorry, but you're a small studio, small, folks that you're not if you're not used to that scale of things, and you don't know how to approach it to that extent and take the fullest out of it, then again, you're just relying on their tech. And Unreal has, unfortunately, unless, and I don't think they ever will rewrite Unreal from scratch, it has been built stack on stack on stack on stack. And a lot of things that have not functioned or have not been fixed are still there, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's something that
so
I
anyway,
don't think a lot of people think about, at least newer devs, but the original Unreal used to, like, you couldn't download it. Like, it was something you had to buy. So AAA studios would have to buy licenses for it, and those licenses could be a couple $100,000 to per seat for a license. And then, so you think about something like BioShock was done in Unreal, Gears of War was done in Unreal. But really, what it was, it's like you got the Unreal Engine, and then you built on all the other tech you needed. So there was a lot of individual customization. And when Unreal went
Mhm.
free originally, one of the big issues was that they didn't have any documentation really for anything, because like it was all kind of
Right.
internal stuff that they had made. So it took them a long time to
Mhm.
get there. And yeah, when you keep building on top of, we're seeing this with a lot of Bethesda games, and Bethesda's like engine is like
Mhm.
they've just built on top of it for so long, but a lot of the core issues, particularly around optimization and performance,
Yep.
like you're not going to fix those unless you start from scratch, and that's
Correct.
a big effort to restart an entire engine from
Oh
scratch.
yeah. 100%. And at that point, honestly, it is literally why I love the sense of unity, right? And to me is because you get this uh well, for the lack of better word, you get this bare bone engine, right? They're like, look, this is what it can do, right? Like you can still code on it, you can still do this and so forth. But one of the beautiful things about it is that you can easily create tools or expand upon it, if you need to. Right? Like that's why we got so many like the asset store has so many wonderful tools that people have made that add additional features to either the engine itself or make it just easier for you to work with. Unlike Unreal, sure, there's some again some assets that you could buy that may extend things, but the concept in Unreal is that you have this ecosystem that is just everything is here. Like we
Mm-hmm.
do everything, right? Every single thing there is, right? And in Unity, that whole concept, in my experience, is split. So it's like, well, you could do all this, but you can add this to it. But if it's not really good at it, then you can create something to extend on that, right? So you can kind of like a Lego, if you will, add the pieces that you need in order for you to make the best out of it, instead of having this giant bundle that does everything, but you don't leverage everything from it.
Yeah.
So you kind of have additional things that you'll never touch, and you just like, now that's just overhead, for you to
Mm-hmm.
deal with. Um,
And
and again, that's Mhm.
I was just saying, also interestingly along those lines, like if when you use an engine that has a lot of these built-in default systems in it, then you start to notice that like every game is using them. And in some
Yeah.
cases, like that's fine, but in others, like it creates like a sameness amongst all games. So I'll tell you, one of the things I've
Mm.
noticed
Mm.
that drives me fucking mad is every game now has that like auto eye adjustment for when you go indoor and outdoors. It automatically adjusts the brightness. And I hate that. I hate it. It drives me crazy. It makes me feel like my eyes are constantly like switching back and forth. And I have an OLED
Mm.
TV which has perfect blacks. So we're getting that like
Mhm.
really nice differential between your blacks and your highs. And
Mhm.
every time it's auto dimming, it just throws the whole thing off sometimes. And I feel like this. must be just an internal Unity 5 thing that everybody is using, because I noticed it in Borderlands. I noticed it in
Mhm.
Outer Worlds 2 does it. I'm just like, I just don't want it. I want to be able to turn it off, and no game lets me turn it off. I hate the auto dimming. Um, it's so the reason I'm saying that is like certain features can become sort of standardized over time by the nature of the tools you're using,
Right.
even if the audience doesn't necessarily like them or want them. And we've seen this
Mhm.
before. I'm trying to think of some other examples just off the top of my head, but yeah, over time in video games, there's been certain things where it's like, oh God, I'm glad we don't do that anymore. So hopefully this auto eye
Mhm.
adjustment will be one of them. I don't know if it
For
bothers
sure,
you as
like the
much,
one.
but it bothers me.
Yeah, like, well, I mean, I don't experience it, I guess, that much, but I do understand the idea of that fog, as you were mentioning
Yeah.
previously for Outer Worlds too. And I feel that has been a thing too, that the use of the fog to hide whatever the heck further down, or
Mm-hmm.
blur it out, whatever you want to call it. But it's just a pain. It's just like, man, it just looks horrible because you kind
Yeah.
of see it clipping. But
And I do wonder too, like how many of these this might be. It's an issue that I think is important, but I'm just a dude sitting in a room. But my guess would be most games are not made on OLED TVs, right? So the back glow you're getting from your LCD or LED monitor might
Mhm.
actually, you might not notice that fogging effect because there's already a natural baseline to the light. But when you're on an OLED screen, there is no graying that you get because the light isn't doing that like universal
Mhm.
light. So it might be a case of just nobody's looking at it on an OLED TV and being like, oh, maybe we should clean this up, right? I don't know. I don't sit in
Right,
Obsidian.
right.
Obsidian doesn't invite me to their meetings. Um,
It could be what is it? Um what is the word? Oh my gosh. The people that have, or it's more likely for people to not have an OLED,
mhm,
right? Than to have the OLED. So
sure.
you're working with the systems that more often people will use. Therefore, uh, the chances, if you're like, oh, let me test it on this OLED for like the 1%, you know. I mean, hopefully it'll change, soon enough, and we're
Yeah.
seeing like, right, and it
And
will,
most
right?
phones,
Period. It
most
will.
like decent phones are kind of moving to an OLED. I think
Right.
all of the new
Right, right.
iPhones are OLED, maybe, but yeah, I get that um, it's probably I don't know what ownership of flat screen TVs is an OLED. I don't spend a lot of money on stuff, but the things that I like a good TV and I like a good video game system, and a good photo camera. Like those are kind of the tech that will spend money on.
Mm,
And it does it's very noticeable. Um, and I'm just bringing it up because it's like
mm,
top of mind because I've been playing the game lately, and I'm just like looking around at
right.
some of these scenes. I was like, these scenes would look incredible, like jaw dropping, if they got rid of
Right.
this little LOD system, whatever they're using there, at least for interior spaces, where there isn't
Yeah,
light
yeah.
pollution. I think it could be really, really interesting. But yeah, I mean, Caleb mentioned it there. It's a good thing to do a little testing on an OLED just to make sure. Because the one
Mm,
thing you can get on an OLED is black crush, which is where
mm,
the scene just looks so dark. Because again, LEDs or LCDs have a backlight. That's how you see the light through them.
right.
But
Mm,
was it like I noticed in Game of Thrones, which is a dark show to begin with, there would be some scenes where we'd
mm.
be watching it and like we're like, what the hell is going on? It's
It's
so
black.
dark. It's so dark. And that is one issue you have to be careful of with an OLED. But still,
Mm,
just for those doing development, it's always good to test out your games on different setups just to make sure you haven't missed anything.
100%. Yeah, 100%. No argument there. Again, I mean, I think it's one of those things that we often like, well, obviously you should test on the device that you're gonna like release to, or so on and so forth. Um and I would say big studios should have an OLED somewhere, or somebody in the team should have an OLED because they, brought it from home or whatever
Yeah.
else. Um, and
Google AI says as of 2024-2025 data, OLED TVs
mm,
account for approximately 2.5% of total global TV market.
that,
So
yeah,
maybe we're not a high
yeah,
priority to
exactly.
them.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I said 1%, but it's
Yeah.
the concept, it wasn't a lot, right? So
Yep.
that's why
You
I
were close.
can understand that whole idea of them being like, you just increase your blacks, whatever, like
Yeah.
increase the color or the whatever saturation, not the contrast, whatever it is called.
Yeah.
Just increase that. And then you get to enjoy the game.
But that's one of the reasons
Um,
I play on console is because I don't want to have to be adjusting settings all the time, and I don't want to have to be downloading drivers and updates. Help a
yeah.
brother out here, Unreal.
That's true though. Again, so for developers out there, 100% if you can test in different devices, please do so to make it more accessible to those who may have,
Hmm.
of course now if you're gonna start jumping in there and be like, well, hold on, my TV is a 100-inch OLED, it is 10K, and I'm gonna tell you no, I'm not testing on that.
Yeah, yeah. No,
But
yeah. I have a
but
nice
for
TV,
sure,
but
it
I don't
is
have a 10K TV.
it is a good thing for definitely dev to do so. Like that's something um like I've been working on a mobile game recently, and well, I say recently, it's been a moment, but one of the things that I missed to test on was on Android device, or actually correction, an iOS device. And I was like, you know what? I've been so focused on doing this on the Android. Let me actually move it to this one to see what happens.
Hmm.
And sure enough, a lot of things came up that was like, crap. All right, now I need to go in and adjust those things in order to make it functional there if I am, of course, pursuing a release for mobile. So, 100% definitely testing anything and everything you can. If you do have a specific target that is just like, console, I'm only gonna release on PlayStation, then of course, stick with that. But if you ever think of venturing to something else, like take the leap to test it, because you never know. One thing that will work here may not work over there. So
Totally.
for sure.
Yeah, that's something as we wrap up here, but that's something I tell my students a lot is, and the people that are in our incubator and whatnot, um, to be very careful. Like when you think about scope, don't just think about scope of the game itself. Think about the platforms you are delivering on, because even though Unity and Unreal are like, deploy to any environment, like it's not true. Everything requires a little, it gets you like 80% of the way there, and then you have to clean up and do some stuff. So if you release on, actually, I had a friend, he made a cool game called Dragonfin Soup. This was maybe 8 years ago. And
Mm,
he made the mistake. He ended up getting some funding from, I think, PlayStation and then maybe Xbox as well to release on their platforms. And so he did a multiple release. He was a small studio, like small to medium sized
mm,
studio, and ended up releasing on Xbox, PlayStation, PC, and I think maybe Mac all at the same time. And the post release support just ate him alive. It was just too
wow.
much. So if you're a smaller
Yeah,
company or small studio, small dev, it's really good to focus on one and then start looking at deploying on the others. Just a little
for
piece of
sure.
advice from a man who's been around for a while. But well, Tony, I think we've come to the end of our time here. This time just flew by. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. Definitely. This was fantastic. A good experience and always a pleasure.
Awesome. Well, everybody, this has been episode 86 of the Sandbox.Space Weekly podcast. Reminder that we do our live stream every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern, and then we will post the video on our YouTube channel. Also, I probably should have mentioned this at the beginning, but the Sandbox.Space's Discord is now open for free community members. We will be adding our paid tiers in December, but anybody is welcome to join and be a part of our online digital professional community for game development and creative tech. So I'll post a link in the description for the video for that. But again, this has been episode 86. So on behalf of myself, Baby, Pumpkin, everybody in the chat, and our special guest, Tony, I want to thank you for watching, and we will see you next week.